Hello and welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron, and today we are talking about what it takes in a relationship. I'm going to go through a couple of different videos, so this isn't going to be the only video today. And I saw this before, and I kind of been avoiding dealing with the topic, but this morning I was looking at a ministry that I just found her. She's been popping up on my YouTube feed for about, she popped up about 6 weeks ago, maybe. But I didn't watch the video that popped up the first time I saw it. I watched it last night. And when I watched it last night, I saw another video pop up in another video I was looking at. And I watched that just before I came on. And it inspired me to say, now's the time that we really need to discuss this thing. What is her name? Dana Ray. Dana Ray. And she was talking about our God ordained spouses and in kingdom marriage, how some of them are running from the call in which the Lord is leading them to do when it comes to what they're supposed to come in alignment with us for. Now, God has shown me a lot of things that we're going to do in relation to our creative fields that we are aligned to walk in, which is very similar. But for some, there's something heavier coming with that. And it's a calling that these men may be struggling with. Now, this article that I'm going to be talking from today is not so much that I'm going to be speaking about the article. It's going to be that I'm going to be speaking about the things that people don't realize people are dealing with. And I'm going to break it down into 3 different videos. I'm going to try to get done in about 20 minutes for each. That way I have enough time to repost on my phone. But we really got to think, listen, and pay attention. Those of you guys that are really preparing for kingdom marriage, you have to know and you have to understand that there is a level of things that need to be done that isn't just the frill part of, oh, I'm getting married. I've been telling you guys ever since I started talking about kingdom marriage, and how I ended up being the person talking about kingdom marriage, do not know. But I believe it's because of the way that the Lord has pruned me, prepped me, and prepared me for what He's preparing me to go into, that He feels that what I have to say is relevant to y'all. So, this is an element of something that we need to be doing now, and even once we get into these marriages. Number 1 is this: never become so comfortable in a relationship you're not paying attention to each other. Now, why would this be something that you would need to talk about now if some of y'all ain't even in a kingdom relationship yet? Y'all still calling for the man to come in your life. Because what God manifests in the physical, He starts in the spiritual. God has knit you and your spouse together already. And some of y'all have been running from the calling to cover these men even now. If you recall, I did a video recently where I was telling you that when you start praying, it's not something that you do for these men, that you're called to, depending on what calling they have on them, you don't just pray for these men, like do a little, oh, I'm covering you today. Make sure he's okay. Make sure no. Yeah, you cover his day to day. You do. You do. But you need to be sobered in the fact that these men, the second that they came into the realization, one, they were supposed to marry you, two, that there was a calling on their life, they've been on the run. They have. There's a statement that was about to come to my head, but I thought, I don't think that'll work right now. But it comes with the words on the run. I believe, and I'll be 100% honest with you, that these men, the Lord has called a lot of us to start praying for them. About last year, I started to notice that a lot of the people I listened to were syncing up about, if you know who your God-ordained spouse is, start praying. They need you to start praying. Seriously, start praying for these men. Why? Some of y'all know who they are, and you can literally go onto their social media and see them. Come on now, y'all. Let's be honest. Let's be ladies. Let's be grown women. Second, the Lord let you know who they were. You was on their Instagram looking to see who they was, what they doing, who they doing it with. And when he did, you was in the back, oh, they doing good. Some of y'all was upset because they doing good. Why they doing so good? The video I was just listening to with this young woman, she was saying some of y'all looked at their social media and you see them doing good, but they just doing what they do in order to keep them on their regular radar. Because some of these are high-powered, high-valued men, and because they're high-powered, high-valued men, they can't sit up there and look like they tore apart on a day-to-day basis. What world are you in? Some of these men know how to so well cover their emotional turmoil that the second the camera comes on, it's like they're a completely different person, when 5 minutes before they were not. I remember I was listening to an interview with a interviewer. What was it? Geraldo Rivera. Pardon the example I'm going to use, but follow me. Geraldo Rivera was talking about what happened during the Michael Jackson trial. He said that there was this major interview that Michael was going to do with him. He was sitting with him. He did the entire interview. You can go still find that interview to this day. But what Geraldo Rivera said was he went to see him just before the interview started. Just before the interview started, they said that he was in the other room panicking, crying profusely, and he was an absolute mess. But if you look at the interview, you would never think that was the case. He looked perfectly fine, emotionally intact, and not at all nervous. Why? Because of the fact that these men are high-powered, high-caliber, high-value men. They know how to turn on when the camera turns on, and they know how to turn off when the camera turns off. So you don't know what they're dealing with when the camera goes off. It's almost like they get to breathe into themselves once the camera goes off. But the second the camera goes on, they breathe in and perform. Why am I saying this? Getting back to our title. Never become so comfortable you're not paying attention. God right now is giving us a sign that some of us need to be spiritually paying attention, irregardless to what it looks like externally. If you aren't able to tap into the fact that, and I'm not talking about chakra tapping or any type of that, get rid of that foolishness. I'm talking about if you aren't spiritually connected with your spouse enough that you could look at a photo of them, and I don't care if they're smiling or not, and you can't tell that, what's wrong with him? You need to grow real fast. God has been dealing with me, with my God ordained spouse for a while, that I'm still not with him, but I know when something's wrong. I remember sometime about a year and a half ago, he posted a photograph on his social media, and he was smiling in the photograph, but he looked a little goofy, and I was like, what's something not right with this picture? And I immediately went to the Lord and I said, Lord, what's wrong? Something's not right. So I'm feeling something wrong. And I started praying. This is the kind of level of warfare prayer you need to be able to go into. No matter what it looks like. That's what the woman was saying in the video earlier today. She's saying that y'all may be looking at the video. He may be smiling. He was just crying 5 minutes ago. God showed you in a vision he was crying. I'm gonna be transparent. Can I say that, Lord? In one instance, the Lord, it was right around one of the holidays earlier this year, and I was feeling emotionally solemn. I didn't know why. It was a romantic holiday. Figured out. I mean, we always be like, yeah, we want to be with our spouses, and God was showing me some stuff and all this type of stuff. And all of a sudden, I remember around this holiday, I got a dream of him, and he was sitting on the bed crying. And I was like, what? That same week, if it wasn't the next day, he was doing a public appearance where he looked perfectly fine. But he showed me something. He showed me a piece of video footage that what I saw in my dream and what he had on was identical. And I was like, excuse me, Lord, what? And the Lord was like, yeah. Don't assume that you think that you know. Pay attention. If the Lord is showing you something, you need to pay attention. If you don't learn how to pay attention now, how you going to pay attention when they're in the picture? Because there may be something that they may be going through and they might not be openly sharing it. But you got to have a spiritual wisdom about you. Something ain't quite right here. I was listening to a minister the other day, and she was talking about she had a dream. And in it, she saw a very powerful political person. And the person had a very some type of demeanor about them where they were trying to keep themselves in a specific way, but they kept throwing stuff at her. And she was like, why are you throwing stuff at me? But the way they were throwing it wasn't like they were trying to smear her or hurt her. It was like, I'm trying to get your attention. And she looked at the person and the person gave her a look like her and that person were looking at each other. And she knew that that person was telling her, help me. Like it was a cry for help. Like, I can't exactly sit up there and say, help me. So let me throw this at you and say, help me. Some of y'all husbands, let's get on the real tip, okay? Some of your husbands are going through some real mess where they are. And they are spiritually calling out to you. I need your help to guide me out of this. They got God. Yes, they do. They are walking with God to the degree in which the Lord is showing them to walk, but they're afraid of the weight of what's about to happen. And it was weird because for the past few weeks I've been praying for mine in relation to some things, and it didn't never dawn to me to pray, help him walk in the obedience of where you're trying to take him, because I figured from what I was seeing and where he's showing me that we're going and where he is right now, it's like, well, that's a given. So why am I really going to need to pray for the obedience of it? It would just be that we come into it together, and it's like, no. It's something else there. Some of y'all spouses, they may be someplace of prominence right now, but I'm going to tell you, in certain situations, what's going to happen is these men, they're going to have to step back from where they are. And in the stepping back, it's going to literally be just like you had to go through a pruning process, they going through a pruning process. Now, I've been praying in relation to mine, so I'm prayerfully that some of the prunings has already started on his end. But some of it is going to be completed with them. And you have to learn to pay attention even now, and you're not in it. Now, I wanted to go into, a lot of us have been concerned about the dating process and all of this, the getting married and being comfortable and the trips and the travel and the things and the glorious stuff and the passports and the things that we're going to be walking into when it comes to these relationships and marriages. But there's also going to be stagnant moments. And young woman was talking about that you may go into these marriages and you'll be dating and you'll be enjoying and you'll be traveling and you'll be doing all of the great stuff. But you forgot. You do know there's still an enemy out there that just as he was whipping your behind while you were in your wilderness, you think he ain't going to be throwing grenades at this man. Let me tell you something. If you didn't pay attention to one of my previous videos, I was talking about the prayer. If the Lord tells you to start praying for somebody and you see, oh, I pray for them, look, they're doing better, don't you dare stop. Because what happens is you start praying for them and the enemy starts to target them. Like I told you, I had a situation with a friend of mine. When I started praying for her, she started to end up in weird klutzy incidents. She would slip and fall. She almost had blinded herself in one occasion. She ended up having to have a biopsy done for something, and the person before she went in gave her a drink that she was not supposed to drink, and it could have stopped her heart and killed her during the procedure. The enemy ain't out here playing with these people. If you start praying for somebody, you better dedicate your time to pray for them. And this is your spouse, meaning that person has the ability, one, to open a door for you, two, to do some things seriously to bless you. And because of this, you better be well aware that the enemy knows. And because the enemy knows, he coming with all guns blazing towards that person, because he knows you already got it. You already set up. You already understand. You already prayed up, warred up. But no, they aren't. They ain't following God like you are. They may pray. They may understand God. They may seek God out. They may have problems. They may speak to God. But they ain't doing what you're doing. Not to the degree that you're doing it. And the enemy knows if he can keep them away from you with suicidal thoughts, doubts, fears, frustrations. See, the thing about it is, when you started praying for that man, at a specific point in time, the Lord revealed to them, you're the one. And when he revealed to them, you were the one, everything they did after that point was disobedience. And they started running in rebellion. If they chose to date somebody, sleep with somebody, get involved with somebody, that person wore them out. Why? Because the Lord was trying to tell them, if you do not get yourself together and go where I told you to go, it's just going to keep getting worse from here. And what the young woman was saying this morning is, they went through an experience recently, and I know this because the Lord confirmed it. He showed me something. I could not figure out why he showed me this. He showed me an image, and he said something, both confirmations of my God ordained spouse. And it was to say, the Lord has brought them to their knees. And because the Lord has brought them to their knees, they're going to come obediently, but they had to get beat up a little bit to get there. So yeah, you're going to go through. But when they do come, you got to operate with love, because there's going to need to be communication. You're going to have to spend time together and get to know each other to a degree. You're going to have to deal with understanding what each other's triggers are. You're going to have to deal with understanding each other. You may even have to, some of y'all vacations ain't going to be vacations because y'all going to be like, ooh, let me happy, play. These vacations may actually end up being like therapeutic moments where y'all going to be able to sit, talk, work through some things, communicate about some things, be in the word about some things, get with God about some things, so that you can lead and guide. He's leading, you're advising. And you're going to have to, it's not going to always be a pretty moment. And you're going to have to work through these types of things. You're going to have to build up. When tension builds up, you're going to have communicative words that you use. Okay, maybe this is a little pressing to me. Pause. Let's get clarity on this. Tension is building up here. Pause. We aren't understanding each other the way that we need to. I'm getting frustrated. You're getting frustrated. Because we're getting frustrated, there's something here that's not being communicated properly. And don't fall back on your comfort zones. For me, it's working. For him, it may be working. For yours, it may be working. Or whatever it is that is the comfort zone for that particular person. Everybody has a different type of comfort zone. Maybe it's watching TV. Maybe it's going out with your friends. Maybe it's just going out and getting away from the house. Maybe it's isolating in the house. Whatever that thing is, understand what those are, figure out how to deal with them with one another, but be in an operation that you understand each other, what works for y'all, how you work on projects, how you do things. Some seasons you may need to work on projects, some seasons it just may be quiet time. It may be a growing experience. Do take your vacations. Do go to places that you've never been before. Do things that you've never done before with each other. That opens up conversational things to get each other into a place where you're talking. You're in essence trying to prepare yourself for a relationship that is going to be lasting. You better be in your prayer time even now, because they need your prayer just as much as you need to pray for them. You're going to have moments where obstacles are going to come up. Maybe he needs to go off and work and you have to stay home with the kids. And you're going to be separated. God's teaching you now. You better start praying for them now when you're not with them, because there are going to be times when you're married and you're not going to be with them, but you're still going to have to pray for them. And you better pray, because now that y'all married, the enemy really going to be trying to distract them while they're away from you. Trying to bring in and roll in grenades, manipulate to open doors, do all kinds of stuff in order to try to bring in wedges between the two of y'all. Have friends speaking word curses into their ears, trying to bring spiritual warfare that can bring about spiritual covenants by speaking and or inserting witchcraft in the dreams. How do I know? I went through all that myself while I've been praying for this man. Why? Because the enemy knows. You got to know your scriptures. You got to know your people. You got to know how to pray for these people. Because if you are not, you're going to miss it and you're not going to be prepared. And you better start learning how to do it now, because once they get into your life, these people are dealing with things. They've been broken about things. They've had to experience things. And yeah, you're going to have your moments. You're going to have spicy sex and passionate stuff like that. You're going to have your moments. But some of those times, that's going to literally be the key that opens up the release for them to deal with their emotions. Sometimes you've heard people say that sex can be healing. Yeah, it can. Oops, I'm not Christian. I'm not supposed to talk about it. The marriage bed is undefiled. Once you're married, once you got the ring on your finger. Walk with God. Work with God. Yeah, so yeah, you're going to travel. Yeah, you're going to do those types of things. You're going to buy property. You're going to have multiple properties. You're going to have all of these types of things. But understand the things that you should not be doing. Don't be sitting up there separating yourselves and he's sleeping in one room and you sleeping in the other room. You don't know what you're going through in the middle of the night. If you're going into the other room, the only reason you're going into the other room is because you're praying. You went to the prayer room. Because we're looking to have relationships that are long-term and are comfortable. Because you want to be in this relationship for 10, 20, 30 years. So where do you start now? Pay attention now. Look, see, discern. But don't always pay attention to what you can see with your natural eyes. Get into the spirit with the Lord and start to pray. Because let me tell you something. It was last month. I went into a 15-day consecration. And it was an unplanned 15-day consecration. It was the last week of the prior month. And then it was like 8 or 9 days into the new month. I went into it and I ended up doing a marriage consecration. In it, I started praying over a 3-day period right in the middle of it about something specific in relation to my marriage. The Lord led me to a video at the end of it that gave me all of this wisdom. And when I saw all that content and all that wisdom, and I started to pray into it, and the Lord, I said, am I crazy? Because sometimes the Lord will reveal something to you and you'll feel crazy when you first see it. And you're like, God, is that really is this what was happening all this time? Is this why I wasn't in that situation? Why you kept me out of it? And God be like, yeah. And then he gave me a dream and he showed me what was happening, what was being done. And I said, oh my God. Yeah, you need to be praying for these men because you don't know what's being done to them, where it's being done, who's doing it, how it's being done. Remember, Esther had to pray. And when she went into fast and consecration, what did she reveal? She found out Haman was trying to kill the king so he could get his spot. You don't know what's going on to that man. Abigail, Abigail went and she prayed and went to David to make an agreement that David would not kill her husband. Now, granted, her husband was crazy, but yeah, we have to stand in the gap for these men. I'm gonna tell you something. I wasn't expecting it to be this long, but there's a young woman. Her name is TENTOX. Separated. The OX is separated. She did a video and she said that your husbands are going to cry when they first meet you. When they come, they may come positive. They may come in a good mood because they're gauging you at the first moment. But when they get you to where they can actually sit down and have a conversation with you and they start to talk and they come to the realization of what the Lord has done with you for them and understand that you have been praying for them. They understand that you were the one that's been doing all of this. They have the understanding, but it's just like us. We're in a phase where we don't have access to them. So it's almost like, are they really praying for me? Are they really seeing me? Are they really concerned about me? Maybe I'm just making this up in my own head. You know how we felt? They are scared also because they're afraid that this person don't know me. How am I going to just tell them to come to me? So when you have that first meeting, when they realize that you know, even though they spiritually have the understanding and they can hear certain things, it's something that brings about a level of relief that they can release. It's the same thing that we're going to have. That when they come to the realization to have you face to face and say, oh my God, they really have been praying. Oh my God. It's going to be a level of weight off of their shoulders, understanding, I can breathe. I was right. The Lord did lead me right. And they're going to cry. Because you've been standing in the gap for them. And they now know that. For real. And it's going to be a weight off of their shoulders and they are going to cry. I remember I was watching an episode of my old TV show. God keeps bringing parallels between that old TV show. But I'm going to be able to say too much about it. But when the guy came to her and helped her in a situation, when he saw her and she responded, he fell to his knees and started crying immediately.